The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, my name is Lyle Bunn, and it's a pleasure to introduce this first of the 7-part series intended to accelerate the success of integrators and resellers involved in the supply of digital signage. This is one of 7 parts in the series, and I encourage you to look at the other 6 portions of this. What I'm going to speak about just now is why end users are investing in digital signage, in dynamic signage, in place-based media. And again, I encourage you to look at the abstract for this session and as well take the time to focus on the other 6 subject areas that are addressed within this webinar series. If there were 3 quick reasons to urge you as a reseller or an integrator to move into adding digital signage to your portfolio or expanding it within your portfolio, it's these 3 reasons. First of all, end users are buying, and I'll get into that in a little bit more detail. As you'll see in other sessions, it delivers revenue, profit, margin, and more customer control and success in prospecting for you. And thirdly, as an integrator, as a reseller, the technology infrastructure and the framework around its supply is something that you have already proven your capability to do with other technologies. The perspectives that I'll share with you are those that have been gained over the past 15 years of focusing exclusively on digital signage, and I'm drawing on some materials that have proven very valuable to other integrators who have already seen these things. I'm also drawing upon the papers that have been published and found good audiences related to digital signage. And so let's carry forward, shall we? Why should you be providing digital signage? Well, in fact, it's a very, very high growth industry. Estimates are between 20 and 30% compound annual growth rate, CAGR. And digital signage is appearing wherever people shop, they browse, they purchase, they gather, they're in transit, where they're waiting, where they're gathering, where they're working, and when they're studying. And I'd estimate that there are 20 million active displays now operational, providing messaging as digital signage in North America. And that's a really important perspective because not only are there new deployments, but there are replacement scenarios for out of service, end of life hardware, and also expansion of networks that's actively going on as end users realize that this technology really does work. Where are we then? For those of you who love a graph, the blue line is the standard adoption curve for technologies. I like to focus on that golden, that yellow curve in the background because that's the revenue line associated with the adoption of new technologies. So where are we? We are still very much in the early adopter phase with lots more investment to be made by end users as they see their competitors using this instrument for communications and marketing, and as they realize through their early adoption that the technology really does work in moving the needle in areas that relate to marketing and other communication elements. So there's still lots of revenue, lots of customers, lots of expansion to happen within digital signage, in particular in the North America market. I'd reference as well that it's not always new deployments that are going ahead. As a matter of fact, some integrators are doing very well identifying underperforming installations, those that might have dark screens, or for which they come to realize that there is a high cost of operations associated with the technology infrastructure that's originally been applied. Many of the networks that have been installed are expanding. As I've mentioned, end users realize they really do move the needle in all of the key areas of business activation through communication. But additionally, the medium is being applied as we see changes in the business model. A couple of these include omnichannel, the empowerment of the physical retail location in the face of online and mobile commerce. We've seen increased emphasis on hiring practices, and digital signage seeks to reduce the cost of recruitment and reduce turnover by improved staff communication. As well, some in the business world are moving to a variable pricing model for their products. This relates to in-store specials that could be promoted only on the digital signage, but as well a day part, for example, in the middle of the afternoon, where a food service establishment might offer special pricing to those who are buying in off-peak times. So the low-hung fruit literally has several characteristics in terms of those digital signage opportunities. As well, if you take nothing away from this webinar, it's that digital signage responds to the way that our brains are hardwired. Visual is our preferred language. It only takes about 5% of the brain power to detect and analyze a graphic that has a particular message over the verbal presentation of that same message. Motion gets noticed. And so animated content or video content really does attract the eye. And then when our eye has been attracted to that message, we make a rapid, often unconscious decision of whether or not that message is compelling or relevant to us. And so our visuals are deselected as we determine the relevance of that message to us. And marketers have known for a long time about the congruence effect, the fact that things can be believable. Messages become more believable when we receive those messages in repeated time frames. So because our brains are hardwired for visuals, digital signage is a particularly powerful instrument for marketing and staff and student communication. We should be aware as well that the flat panel display that you could be looking at to be networked, to be part of a video wall, imagine that tablet device, all of these devices are not just a media presentation device. They are, as marketers put it, an engagement device. These engage viewers, and that's really what we're looking through the use of this instrument. And this instrument is not just that flat panel that might be hung from a post or put on the wall or used on a cart, even in a movable situation. So from the ceiling, on the wall, or on the floor, digital signage applies not just as single display devices, but also video walls. We see it in small form factor displays that are placed on shelves, on service counters, on order counters. We see it in tablets, and to some extent, we even see digital signage being applied to mobile devices. There are a number of types of organizations that have been already in the business of providing digital signage. And I'd caution you not to look at this list as a list of competitors, but as a list of providers that are out there beating the bushes, are speaking to end users about their use of the medium, and are being asked by end users if they can, if this type of firm can provide digital signage as an infrastructure, including its operation. So there are lots of different kinds of organizations, each with a different set of strengths and, frankly, weaknesses in terms of their providing digital signage. I put this in front of you to indicate that there are a lot of organizations who are already moving forward and enjoying the commercial benefits of providing digital signage. When I speak about end users finding appeal from the use of dynamic signage and place-based media, I thought that this summary of who's using the medium would be especially valuable to you. So the most attractive areas in which to sell digital signage are in the upper right, and the less attractive in the lower left. So least attractive would be in municipal or government agencies and departments where there's often an RFP process. There can be a long sales cycle and usually a very competitive sourcing scenario that you may not wish to become involved in. However, lots of other organizations are moving forward with digital signage. And as you look at this summary of where this medium is being applied, those in blue on the top are using digital signage because it generally increases revenue. Those on the bottom, office, plant, campus education, and houses of worship, are moving forward because it reduces costs of operation. Imagine in a plant environment reducing the number of accidents that occur, improving the safety record because of reminders and information that's provided to those manufacturing establishment workers. In an office environment, this really does compress the organization, allowing those in one department to better understand the contributions that are being made by others and to overall understand the directions and the success that their employer is realizing. One of the areas that's on fire in terms of digital signage is the use of video walls. These apply in retail establishments, in transit establishments, in museums, galleries, hospitality venues, and often we see these being put into the lobby area of an office. So lots of applications for digital signage. Why is this going ahead primarily? Well, here's what we've realized. Many organizations have to invest in back office technologies such as point of sale, enterprise resource planning, customer relationship management, inventory, financials. This investment in information technology only allows them to open their door to business. Most are now realizing that they have to invest in marketing technologies in order to accelerate that revenue achievement and the revenue growth margins and the profitability of their business. So MarTech is very much on the front burner in terms of investment in technology enabled tools moving forward. Customer engagement is the watchword in every business to customer organization. And these organizations, in looking to achieve better customer engagement, are realizing that this is a major component of their digital strategy, which is an element of their overall business strategy as well. So dynamic signage is moving forward as an element of the business strategy manifested in the digital strategy to achieve that goal of improved customer engagement. This corresponds to what you may be familiar with in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where Maslow described the needs that human beings each individually have. This is a reflection of the needs and the desires that corporations have. Their top desire is for valuation of their company. This is a share price, be it privately or publicly traded. Beneath this, improved brand equity and the protection of that branding in which they've already invested so much, a defendable competitive position. And what they're really looking for is improved productivity and efficiencies in achieving the outcomes that that organization is in the business to achieve. What we notice, what they notice, is that digital signage improves the productivity of places, of their business processes, and of people. And by people, I mean not just the productivity of their own staff, but as shoppers and students who would be in that location as well. Productivity of place is a very important determinant for how investment is being made at this point. Why? In retail, for example, we have productivity of the internet as a place to visit, and the importance in activating the success of those brick and mortar locations is a very high priority. In 2017, we still see about 92% of purchases happening in store, in bricks and mortar locations. And so retailers, food service establishments, hospitality providers, and others who are in that business to consumer world want to improve the productivity, the revenue and margin and profit achievement of those places. They want those places to become more of a destination, and they want revisit frequency. Through all this, improving the process of communicating is of vital importance to move forward the efficiency of that organization in the day-to-day tasks it undertakes in its marketing, communication, and branding efforts. Each marketer out there thinks about three kinds of media. They think of the media they have to pay for, paid advertising in order to get their message out there. They think of earned media in terms of social media, viral marketing, and the press coverage that they might enjoy for what they do. The area that digital signage speaks to is this ballooning, this growing area where end users want to own the media. They want the ability to speak to the customers who have selected to visit their location. So this area of owned media is the growing area, and it's taking funding away from advertising media and attention away from social media as well. In particular, as we now see social media platforms becoming very expensive for use in order to amplify that brand message. So owned media is the high growth area in that paid, owned, earned media model that most marketers think about. What do they want? What do they really, really want? What end users want and what they get from dynamic signage is the simultaneous achievement of four communication objectives. They want improved branding. They want to influence those who see their messages so that those people will take the action that is being asked of them to try something, to buy something, to take an action. They also want to improve the attractiveness of that environment by adding vitality and improving the ambience in that environment. And so we've seen that digital signage is commonly delivering these four benefits simultaneously. What do they want? What do they really, really want? These 6 elements describe the kind of results that are typically being achieved through the appropriate use of digital signage. The cost of communicating nosedives. It goes way down and it becomes much less complex over, for example, printed materials. It reduces perceived waiting time, which is why we see digital signage in waiting rooms, medical, dental, veterinary waiting rooms, why we see it in transit stations, why we see it on bus shelters, why we even see it at the checkout location of a retail store. Why? Because it reduces the perceived wait time. Think of this the next time that you're in your bank or your credit union and there's digital signage behind the counter providing messaging to you while you wait. What they're getting as well, and this comes from this is a composite of virtually every impact assessment or audit report that I have seen on the use of digital signage. The number of inquiries for services increase. This is why we see it in banking and financial service organizations, why we see it in medical offices, where that medical practitioner wants to get inquiries for the additional services that they might provide to a customer. revenue always increases between 5 and 60%, and I've seen this go much higher into the 200+% level. But for a very mature brand, a 5% increase in revenue over a given period is a substantial increase. That's high fives and holidays in Hawaii for the entire team for a very mature brand. For less mature brands or for new products being introduced, that revenue achievement level of an increase of 60% really causes a very high ROI against the investment for digital signage. Brand awareness always increases. This is an average that I see in impact reports, and there's an improved sense of the vitality and the modernness and the innovation that brand or that retailer, that organization is expressing by putting digital signage into their establishment. You'll notice that when you're going throughout your day, you'll start to notice digital signage more often. There was a time in this credit union when there were posters printed on a quarterly basis and put behind the teller's counter. And the static sign provider recommended these 2x2 video walls, which are used to promote products, to profile new professional people who are in that location, to provide information to consumers that allow this credit union to be a better service to them. You'll start noticing digital signage much more as you go about your ordinary day. If you hear the words branch of the future, store of the future, that is definitely an opportunity that you should run toward. Why? Because organizations with multiple locations are trialing just as wide a range of, uh, uh, of quality technology enabled engagement as is possible. Then what they do is they assess the performance of individual technology elements and they roll those out more widely across their chain of stores or branches. So lots going on in that area. There's certainly a pitch battle going on between grocery and food services. Each enjoys about half the share of 1.6 trillion in spending annually in North America. Within food services, we've seen very large chains already start to move toward digital menu boards, put in promotion boards, and now the move is afoot to put digital place-based media into drive-through. And while the large chains have already moved forward with this and are already enjoying the benefits, that puts pressure on smaller chains or even individual food service locations to become more attractive to patrons. The benefits of these are very long, and we'll get into those in a future session. What we notice as well, and this is very exciting, is the introduction of new technologies that allow that end user to really express their brand in an extraordinary, in a positive way. One example of this is organic light emitting diodes. These are flexible displays that can become concave or convex. They can be transparent with messages, different messages on either side of the display, and they really do add a lot of vitality and excitement to the locations in which they're placed. So we do see the technology elements evolving to provide higher performance and improve the success of that communication objective at each stage of the technology supply chain. So those are some reasons why end users are moving forward with digital signage. As you conclude your viewing of this session, please look into the other sessions in this series and best of success with adding digital signage, expanding digital signage in your portfolio as a reseller and an integrator. Best of success to you moving forward.